Well, okay. Thanks a lot for those explanations, Twain. That does help to clear up quite a bit of things. But just a few things that I also just want to ask quickly. Like, with resistance training, when you're
Yeah,
starting out, one of the biggest issues that I always have is that when you get into the gym, there's these people that always come, and it's like, whenever you do exercise, your form has to be perfect. Because if your form
mm,
is not perfect, you're not going to get the benefits of the exercise. You're going to just get injuries, blah, blah, blah. So
yeah.
my question is here is that for somebody who's literally just starting out in resistance training, how important is form at that time? Where should you actually be focusing your energy on?
I mean, when somebody's starting on resistance training, like form is always important. Do not do the exercises correctly. You are more likely to, I would not say injure yourself, but you're more likely to not get the best benefit from the exercise you're trying to do. That being said, though, that's the reason why in the module I emphasize starting out with either body weight exercises or starting with machine-based exercise, especially if you're going to the gym. And if you're going to the gym, just start with the machines because you cannot go too wrong. The machines themselves already put you into a certain position where you will already naturally more or less hit the muscle. Now, will you be perfect on that machine? Will you have like full mind muscle connection and all this sort of stuff? It's very unlikely, but this is a function of just getting better at it over time. Nobody will get perfect form right from the start. And so while it can be beneficial to, let's say, engage a PT or a trainer to kind of come in and help guide you, in the setting up of the form and all, I think a large part of this is very important to understand that you are not likely to get injured if you actually go into the gym and use like the machines and you put it, to a weight that is very easily manageable, especially if it's the first time that you're doing it. Because all you need to do is kind of go through the motions to some degree so that you can actually start to learn, oh, this is what a chest press feels like. This is what the shoulder press feels like. This is what, a lat pull down feels like. Um, Once you start to get that and you actually do it, then you actually have something from which to start adjusting your form with. And again, because these machine-based stuff is probably super low risk, you're not likely to get injured. Once you do that and you gain a better awareness of your body, yeah, then you can start progressing to dumbbells, barbells and stuff where you'll be able to better feel like what a natural position will be like to do these exercises. And obviously, then when you engage a trainer or you get engage somebody to teach you, you'll be able to get a lot more out of those sessions.
Mm. Yeah, I think I'm 100% on board with what you're saying there is that for me as also as when advise people on this kind of thing is that start out with the machines, especially when you're just f starting out for the first time. And the reason for that is because for me, it's like your focus is not on your form, your focus is on your consistency because you're building
Yeah,
a new habit that you did not have before. So rather focus on going into the gym each day or whatever the routine is that you've set for yourself.
yep,
And I'm a big proponent, as you say, is go and use the machines. Because one is like very good chance that if you're doing this for the very first time, you don't have the flexibility to get into the positions to do the actual form how it's supposed to be done
yeah,
exactly, which the some people will be asking you to do. Like for example, for me, I couldn't do a proper squat until I moved to Asia. You know, I did. I found out afterwards. I was in all my life I was only doing half squats because I couldn't actually get past the 90 degree.
mm,
You know, I actually, to be honest, I didn't even get to the 90 degree if I'm being really honest, yeah. And so I had to work, excuse me, I had to work on that and develop that flexibility in order to be able to achieve that and do
mm.
it properly. Then I could actually say, okay, now I can do squats. Okay. But until then, it's like, okay, then let's just focus on actually going and doing these exercises and
Yeah.
getting through. So I focus on the consistency over the form for,
Yeah.
for me.
And I think also one thing that has been blown out of proportion is this idea that, oh, if your form is really bad, you're going to injure yourself and stuff. Um, if you actually look at the statistics, right, I believe the injury rate for powerlifting or yeah, I think the injury rate for powerlifting is something like 0.3%, or no, sorry, 3%, I think. Something like that. Like there's an injury census that rates all the different activities that you would do. So that's powerlifting. Powerlifting is where you're trying your best to lift the maximum amount of weight, in a competition. Okay, and the injury rate is right up there at the top of the list as one of the safest sports you can do. Okay, so let's put it into perspective. So if you're just going to the gym for the first time, just using the machines and lifting some weights, the likelihood of you getting injured is actually really, 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 really low, because number one, it's very static. Number two, there's no other dynamic or like truly a huge coordination component to it. So things are not, really going to go wrong. And so it's about as safe as anything else you could do. In fact, it's safer than running outside for exercise or playing soccer for exercise. So if you are ready to do that, you say you are thinking, I want to go and play soccer, I want to go and play badminton or tennis or whatever, you are ready to go to the gym. Okay, so that's the first thing. The other thing also is that, um, again, going back to the consistency aspect of things, your form will not differ too much from what is required. There's a myth of form has to be perfect, but the reality is that even at the highest levels, it's all about coordinating things to be able to feel what you need to feel, or doing the exercise in a way that targets the goal of what you're trying to achieve with the exercise. So with that being said, there's different variations to form for the same exercise for different people, because they all have different goals or different structures and different intents with how they're doing the exercises. For example, a sprinter would do top half squats, quarter squats, so to speak, with very, very heavy weights, develop some level of explosive power. But for somebody that wants to develop muscular, legs, that's probably not going to be a great exercise to do. They will probably need to do squats at least down to parallel, focusing on the control, going down slowly. Whereas somebody else that, let's say Olympic lifters, they might do a really full ass to grass squat, so that they can actually get themselves into that bottom position to be able to catch their cleans or to get into their snatch. So the same exercise, okay, has multiple different good forms. Again, it depends on intent, it depends on other things. So I think there has been this, obviously the with the way the fitness industry is, it's all about marketing and stuff, where you tell you, oh, this one form is really bad for you, or this other form is really bad for you. Everything has its context, and the reality is that you are not so fragile physically that you cannot just go into a gym and use some machines without worry of injury and stuff. Yeah. So that's really the main thing I wanted to emphasize there.
All right. And then we'll just quickly add in that it also doesn't mean that you can just go in there and be like crazy, go crazy on
Oh
loads.
yeah, I mean
So
definitely.
let's
Yeah.
just add that in here.
Let's just add it into, yeah.
All right.
I'm just
The
saying,
next.
look, it's one of the safest things you could do in regards to exercise.
Okay. So the next question that I just wanted to put it is earlier in the first lesson that you did, you mentioned the waist to hip ratio, right?
Oh yes,
And
yep,
then once you determine that waist to hip ratio, then that would also then give you more insight as to what exercise you should be doing.
yep,
So let's just use a few examples here. Let's say I'm at a 0.58 with a
yep.
hip to waist to hip ratio.
Waist to hip ratio.
So what exercise would you then advise that person to start out at?
Oh, well, if you have a waist to hip ratio of like 0.58, honestly, and again, I'm assuming you have very limited time, you probably just want to make sure you're just like moving around a lot. Getting some cardio in is probably going to be a bigger priority. So let's say if you only had 3 times in a week where you could like exercise, I probably would recommend that those 3 times, one of those times you do some sort of full body strength work. The other 2 times you do some sort of like low intensity cardio work.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is also dependent on the fact that, like, okay, if you're somebody that works in the office, you're pretty much, just sitting at the desk the whole day. Yeah. Definitely, if you only have that time to exercise, get in some cardio.
So cardio includes your steps for the day, or is it designated specific cardio?
Both, both. Because the whole goal is you definitely do want to improve your overall activity levels. And again, when you are at that level of like, if you have 0.58 as a waist height ratio, you definitely have a pretty big belly already. So that's already going to be an issue, right? Which means that it indicates most likely you would not be, very, very physically mobile in that sense.
Mm.
So you would need a bit more movement. You would need to, priority would be to get that weight off as much as possible, reduce the belly down. Obviously, there's a lot of it through diet, but from the exercise perspective, you can do some weights. And if you like, to be honest, if your diet's super on point, yeah, do all 3 sessions with weights. You know, if your diet's super on point, you're losing weight there, that's totally fine. Do all 3 sessions with weights. But if you really want to maximize this first stage, I would say, yeah, maybe one session of weights, the other 2 sessions do like an actual cardio session, just get that movement in, get the calorie burn in, improve your heart strength, and your stamina and your endurance. And then once you slowly lose more weight, introduce in and flip it over to having more strength sessions then.
And the depending on your ability would depend which cardio you do. So as you're saying, is
Yes.
if you're too heavy, maybe you want to do the brisk walking.
Yeah. Or you want to do any of the low impact cardio types, which is like going to the gym using the elliptical. That's a great one as well.
Mm. Okay. I think those are the only questions that I had. But
Oh,
if any other people that are listening or watching this that they have any other questions, do drop us the comments in the comments below, and then we'll try and address them. We also do have a podcast that we'll also link in the description below, where you can also get a lot of these topics that Twain covered here today, where we expound a lot more in them in the podcast. So I'll drop those links in the description below too. Other than that, I think we'll see you in the next module. And that'll be the last module, right?
yeah, that's the last one.
All right. So we'll see you then. Have a good one.
Have a good one.